Hey everyone, and welcome back to Truth is Stranger, the show where we dig into the real-life mysteries that make you question everything. I'm Lily.
And I'm Connor. Today's story is not only creepy, it's infuriatingly mysterious. The kind of case that haunts you because justice came so close and then stopped just short.
We're talking about the murder of Arlis Perry, a 19-year-old newlywed who was brutally killed in a church at Stanford University in 1974. The crime scene was so bizarre, people thought it was some kind of satanic ritual. And get this, it remained unsolved for 44 years. There was DNA, there were suspects, there was motive, sort of, but no arrests until it was too late. We're gonna break it all down. And don't worry, this is a 100% true story. No embellishments, just the shocking facts. Let's start at the beginning.
So it's October 12th, 1974. Arlis Perry had just moved to Stanford with her husband, Bruce. They'd been married less than 2 months. Bruce was a pre-med student. Arlis had dreamed of working in religious counseling.
She was sweet, shy, and devout. Like genuinely religious, not in a performative way. And she'd just left everything behind in North Dakota to support her new husband in California. Big move for a 19-year-old.
That night, they had a little argument. Totally normal married couple stuff. Bruce said Arlis wanted to cool off, so she told him she was going to the memorial church on campus to pray.
She left their dorm around 11:30 p.m. alone. It was dark, but the campus wasn't considered dangerous back then. She walked into the church, and that's the last confirmed sighting of her alive.
At around 12:10 a.m., a campus security guard named Stephen Crawford said he locked the church doors. He claimed he didn't see anyone inside and that he assumed the church was empty.
Big mistake. Or possibly, big lie.
Exactly. He said he checked the whole building, but somehow Arlis was inside. Alive, at least for a while longer.
The next morning, Bruce got worried. Arlis hadn't come back. He started looking around campus and eventually called campus security.
Stephen Crawford, yep, the same guard, unlocked the church around 5:30 a.m. He walked in and found Arlis's body near the altar.
Brace yourselves, guys. This part is rough.
She was found lying on her back, naked from the waist down. Her arms were stretched outward like a cross, and a candle was placed in each hand.
A third candle had been shoved between her breasts, and another had been inserted between her legs. Her jeans were folded and draped over her calves. She'd been beaten and stabbed in the head with an ice pick, left sticking out.
It wasn't just murder, it was staging. Whoever did this wanted it to look symbolic, ritualistic even.
The body placement, the candles, the fact that nothing else in the church was touched. It wasn't a robbery. This was personal, or ideological, or both.
In the mid-70s, America was just beginning to flirt with the idea of satanic cults and secret rituals. So when people heard about Arlis's murder, the media ran wild.
There were headlines about ritual sacrifice, black masses, and occult killers. Stanford tried to calm things down, but the public was already freaked.
The weirdest part? Arlis had reportedly been involved in debates back home in North Dakota with people who were into darker stuff, occult ideologies. Nothing serious, but it raised eyebrows.
Some friends even recalled that she was concerned about a group trying to convert people back in Bismarck. Totally unconfirmed, but it added fuel to the fire.
The idea that she might have been followed to California by someone from that group, it floated around for years, but no hard proof ever turned up.
So what did police do? They focused on Bruce, her husband, because statistically, it's always the spouse.
They questioned him, tested him, even polygraphed him. But he passed. No evidence, no motive, just a grieving 19-year-old guy with no clue what happened.
Now let's talk about Stephen Crawford, the security guard who locked the church, who claimed he saw nothing, and who later discovered the body.
You mean the guy who literally had keys to the building, gave conflicting statements, and hung around the investigation like he wanted to be caught?
Exactly him. Police questioned him back in '74, but never charged him. There was no DNA tech yet, No witnesses, and no one wanted to believe the church guard could be the killer.
He had military experience, worked security for years, lived a quiet life. Too quiet, maybe.
And over the years, he stayed close to the case, answered media questions, kept giving interviews about how shocking the murder was. Classic over-involvement move.
Fast forward to the 90s, DNA evidence becomes a thing. Cold case teams retest what they can from the crime scene.
But the samples are old, partial, degraded, so they wait for better tech, and in the meantime, the case goes cold again.
Then comes 2018. New DNA tools, specifically familial matching. Investigators test old evidence from Arlis's clothing again, and this time they get a hit.
The DNA matches someone in the system and points directly to Stephen Crawford.
After 44 years,
Police get a warrant. They head to Crawford's condo in San Jose. But when they knock on the door, he just knows.
Crawford shoots himself before they can even speak to him.
That's not closure. That's just the door slamming shut.
No confession, no explanation, no trial, just a coward's exit.
The case was officially closed by the Santa Clara County DA. They said Crawford acted alone. His DNA was found on her clothing. He matched witness timelines. It was him.
But here's the problem. We still don't know why, Lily.
Was it spontaneous? Was it planned? Did Arlis reject him? Did he follow her into the church and wait?
Or was it worse? Was this a fantasy he'd been dreaming about for years? Something symbolic to him that no one else will ever understand?
What about the ritualistic posing? Did he have occult interests? Was this supposed to send a message?
And what about Arlis's history in North Dakota? The rumors of a cult-like roof she argued with? Just coincidence?
So many loose ends. And now that Crawford's dead, they may never be tied up.
Honestly, this case is a reminder that the passage of time can't erase horror. It just buries it deeper.
And sometimes justice comes but arrives too late for satisfaction.
Yeah, I mean, you wait decades hoping for some kind of closure, and then when it finally arrives, it's just a locked door. No answers. Just the sound of it slamming shut.
It's like reaching the final page of a book and realizing someone tore the last chapter out. You're left guessing about the ending forever.
And what really gets me? The silence. The fact that Stephen Crawford never said a word. No letter, no confession, nothing. Just the bullet.
Exactly. He was a man who lived the rest of his life walking free. He worked jobs, lived in an apartment, probably bought groceries while the Perry family suffered for decades.
That's the most bitter part of this whole case. He got to die on his own terms. Arlis didn't.
And we still don't know why. I mean, was this sexual? Was it symbolic? Was it revenge? Or did he just enjoy control and cruelty?
There were so many strange aspects to the crime scene. Those candles, the way her body was posed. It wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment murder. It was staged, thought out.
Right. That kind of staging takes time. And confidence. Like, you don't do something that elaborate if you're panicking or afraid of getting caught.
Which makes me wonder, had he done something like this before? Or had he fantasized about it for years and just waited for the right opportunity?
That's the terrifying part. He had access. He had keys. He knew when the church would be empty. He knew no one would question him locking up a little earlier than usual.
And Arlis, she walked right into his territory completely unaware.
It makes you sick. And you can't help but feel like the system let her down too. I mean, how many times was that guy right there and no one thought to look harder?
Decades went by. He was interviewed. He was in media reports. Some detectives even thought he seemed too interested, but nothing stuck.
And I get that back in 1974, they didn't have the tools we have now. But still, something about him should have raised flags. I mean, even now, with hindsight, it's glaring.
Totally. And even if we set the crime scene aside, his behavior was off. He was reportedly always the first to volunteer for interviews, always positioning himself as the one who found her.
Classic red flag. Insert yourself into the investigation type behavior. Textbook.
Let's talk about Bruce Perry for a second. Arlis's husband. His name was in the headlines at the beginning, but after that, he kind of vanished from the narrative.
Yeah, after being cleared, he kept his head down. Later, he became a really well-known child psychiatrist, focusing on trauma in young people.
How fitting and heartbreaking is that? Like, his life's work was shaped by the worst thing that ever happened to him.
I've read that he never remarried. Never really talked about Arlis publicly either, just carried it quietly.
God, that's heavy. I can't even imagine living with something like that. Knowing you couldn't protect the person you loved and then watching the case go cold for 44 years.
And then, when you finally get the answer, it's followed immediately by the killer's suicide, like a final slap in the face.
So you're left with a name, but no voice. A face, but no reason. It's closure, but hollow.
This whole case reminds me how fragile justice can be, how easily it slips through your fingers.
And how the world just keeps moving on. I mean, campus tours at Stanford still walk by that church every day. Most students probably have no idea what happened there.
Which is exactly why stories like this matter. Because Arlis isn't just a headline from the 70s. She was a person, a daughter, a newlywed, a dreamer.
And her story deserves to be remembered fully, not just for the gruesome way it ended, but for the life she had ahead of her.
She was trying to do something good. Go to church, cool off after a fight, pray. And that was her final act.
It's just so random and cruel and pointless.
You know what's wild? Even with DNA and advanced tech, justice can still fail us. We always think science will solve everything. But when it finally caught up here, it was too late.
Totally. And even though they closed the case, there are still people who don't believe it's truly solved.
You mean the theory that Crawford wasn't working alone?
Yeah, some people think the posing was too elaborate for one person, that maybe someone else helped or influenced him.
Or that the symbolic stuff pointed to some kind of ritual or belief system he was part of. Maybe not a full cult, but something darker.
We may never know. All we've got now is speculation. Unless some hidden journal or secret confession turns up somewhere, this is it.
And that's what's so unsettling. That someone can do something this evil and take all the answers with them.
It's why I think cold cases are some of the most important cases in criminal justice. They're not just dusty old files, they're people's lives, stolen futures.
And you know what? Arlis's case is proof that someone is always watching. That even decades later, you can be caught.
Exactly. Justice doesn't forget, it just waits.
But I still wish Crawford had been forced to face what he did. In court, in front of her family.
Cowards don't do court. They run, they hide, or in this case, they shoot themselves in the face to avoid consequences.
You said it, Connor.
But let's go deeper for a sec. Because the internet, it's kept this case alive in some very unexpected ways.
Oh yeah, the Arlis Perry subreddit alone has hundreds of posts? And Redditors have picked apart everything. The church floor plan, the guard rotations, even weather reports from that night.
Some people believe the murder had ties to the Process Church of the Final Judgment, which was rumored to be active in California during the 1970s. A lot of people thought it was a satanic group.
That theory gained traction because of the ritualistic staging of Arlis's body. Candles, the cross-like positioning, those details felt more like a ceremony than a random act of violence.
A few conspiracy theorists have even claimed that Charles Manson's followers were loosely tied to the same ideology. It's not exactly solid, but it shows how far people were willing to go to make sense of the symbolism.
There's also the claim that Arlis was being targeted for trying to convert people away from the occult. Someone on Web Sleuth said she may have been marked because of her outspoken Christianity.
Right. There's an old letter circulating online, supposedly from someone who lived in Bismarck and remembered Arlis warning others about a spiritual war. Totally anecdotal, but eerie in retrospect.
And then there's the theory that Crawford wasn't alone, that he might have been involved in, or at least influenced by, some sort of ritualistic belief system,
or even coerced into it.
One YouTube investigator pointed out that the church was so massive it would have been easy for someone else to hide inside. Maybe Crawford wasn't the killer. Maybe he covered for someone.
That's hard to prove, especially now that he's dead. But it's weird that for a guy who supposedly checked the whole church, he missed a whole murder in progress.
Exactly. You don't just overlook a ritual homicide. Not in a small enclosed space like that.
Another thing people bring up is the lack of blood trails. Crawford said he found the body at 5:30 a.m., but investigators reported there was no blood near the entrance or on the floor, which suggested the body hadn't been moved.
Meaning, she was killed right where she was found, which contradicts Crawford's whole "I didn't see anyone in there" claim.
And let's not forget his past. He was in the military before becoming a campus guard. Some sleuths have dug into that, wondering if he had psychological issues or a history of violence that was swept under the rug.
And that silence from Stanford? Some say the university quietly wanted the case buried. No bad PR, no lawsuits, just let it go cold.
There's even speculation, though this is getting into deep tinfoil territory, that some of the early evidence was intentionally mishandled.
Yeah, a few cold case podcasts mentioned that the crime scene photos weren't all cataloged properly. And the candles used? Never fingerprinted thoroughly. I mean, come on.
Internet sleuths have also pointed out how odd it is that the ice pick was left in her skull. It wasn't just a weapon, it was a message.
That's something you see in symbolic murders, like it was meant to make a statement, not just kill.
I read a theory from an amateur profiler who suggested that Crawford may have had deeply repressed rage against religious women, that Arlis symbolized something he hated or feared.
And that kind of twisted thinking can manifest in really dark, ritualistic ways, especially if he saw her praying alone, vulnerable, in his space.
And to loop back to your earlier point, he may have done this before. Some Redditors tried to link similar unsolved murders from the 60s and 70s to him, but nothing's been proven.
Still, when there's a gap that big, people are going to fill it with questions, especially when the killer never explains anything.
Some even think Arlis's case might be part of a much bigger pattern, a sort of signature crime that got buried under time and bad policing.
Others think it was a one-time fantasy, played out in a perfect storm of opportunity and obsession.
And honestly, that might be the scariest theory of all, that someone can harbor darkness that intense and just wait until the stars align.
To most people, Arlis was just a stranger. But to him, she might have been the culmination of years of planning, fantasizing, maybe even stalking.
Internet sleuths have even scoured old records to see if Crawford ever visited Bismarck. The idea that maybe, just maybe, he followed her to California.
And if that's true, it changes everything about how this murder went down.
I guess the bigger question is, how do you make peace with a case like this?
I don't know if you do. The family has some answers now, sure, but they'll never get the full truth. And that's the real tragedy. We always say the internet never forgets, but sometimes maybe that's a good thing, because it forces justice systems to confront what they missed.
It gives voices to the voiceless, even decades later, and keeps names like Arlis Perry from being erased.
And honestly, if you're listening to this and feel frustrated, it's okay. We are too.
Because truth doesn't always come with resolution. Sometimes it's just fragments.
Okay, we're gonna wrap it up here. This one was heavy, but so important.
Thanks for joining us. Please like, follow, and subscribe. We really appreciate your support. It's goodbye from both of us.
Yeah, goodbye, guys. Catch you again next Sunday for a new episode of Truth is Stranger. Take care of you.